Welcome to Blowing Solutions Wide Open. We're talking about all things spiritual, as well as creating new systems in the area of healthcare, finance, government, education, new environmental practices, and anything that helps the planet or helps humanity. My name is Addie, and I want to welcome back a wonderful guy. His name's Crist. He is the founder of the Jaguar Path of Shamanism, School of Shamanism. He's traveled to Peru and is an apprentice to shamans. He has created a unique online training in energy healing and Peruvian shamanism. Welcome back, Ray. Thank you for giving us more of your time. And I think, if I recall, we kind of left off on the last video. You were explaining a little bit about how your school works. I recall you were talking about some kind of maybe like a four-step kind of program. And you also had mentioned that, when students come to you, and they're kind of asking you to help them, you have a specific answer to that. And I really liked your answer about, it's always about the individual helping themselves. And I think you said something like
Absolutely.
you can be the guide, but you're not trying to play God to them or anything like that. So why don't you pick up where we left off around kind of a little
Addie,
more
thank
about what you offer?
Addie, thank you so much for having me over again. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm happy
Yeah,
to be here with you and your audience again.
absolutely.
I'm an apprentice of three shamans, ongoing now for
Ooh.
close to 20 years. I say I'm an apprentice, although they've initiated me and I have their rank according to the Karo people and the tribes there. I feel it's still only an honorary rank that they've offered me because I am not of tribe. And I'm a white guy coming from Europe and the States to them. So I want to honor the lineage and the tradition. And it's been pounded in me and persistent in me that the way they view the world is really clear, that this planet belongs to everyone on this planet.
Yeah.
And Mother Earth does not recognize borders set by people and separations from color of skin, sexual orientation, anything. Mother Earth loves all her children. And so I've absolutely adopted that. Upon my third year of apprenticeship with Don Francisco Chura Flores, I said, okay, so what do we do next? And he said, now, if you want to continue to live, and I'll back up to that for in a second, what you need to do next is start teaching this. And that's where the Jaguar path started. And my first word was like, how am I going to teach this? And he just dryly turned around and told me, you're going to teach it in English. And Francisco has a way of transcending again languages and differentiations of cultures. He believes, and this is what the Keros really stand for, that we all should be paying more attention to the earth. And
Yes.
this is not, one of the things that I've tried to explain to people is just like shamanism is not a religion. You don't give up your critical thinking and say, well, I believe blindly to something. Quite the opposite. Shamanism, if I could call it something, knowing it very closely with these men and women of power and of sweetness, that I have very close relationships, again, going on to 20 years. We've raised our children together. My son from 2 years old has been in their presence. I've watched them raise their children. So we are a family. And what is very clear is, again, coming back to that understanding that religion may ask you to believe in one thing and then nothing else, and believe that everyone else is in the wrong place. Um, and I have nothing against religion. I love all religions, actually. The idea, though, that shamanism is a religion is just a misunderstanding because it does not, again, ask us to have some kind of belief or by far give up our critical thinking. I would say shamans are naturalists. They
Yeah.
believe that if you start paying attention to the earth, if you start paying attention to the seasons, if you start paying attention to nature itself, you solve all your psychological problems. You begin to become a more grounded person, a more grounded human being, a more real human being. We're earth walkers, all of us. I don't know, there's some people that want to go to Mars. Like we don't have a planet. Like we don't put all the money there, and this is no political. I have nothing to say on the scene of politics, other than it's been the same since the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
It's the same idea system, a cheap compartmentalized democracy. I'm coming into you from Greece, where I live, and in front of the temple of Hippocrates, and in the place where the Hippocratic Oath has been created, and democracy. So what I feel is that, coming back to the essence of the school, is that what we want to do is, and what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing, it's time for all of us to learn more about ourselves and more about Earth and more about our nature so we can be more solid on our own feet. Each and every single one of us. Because when we're solid on our own feet, we have better critical thinking, where we live more up front in our prefrontal cortex and our heart. So we're more wholesome and more present in every conversation, in every decision, and every action we make in life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, when I came in front of Francisco in 2006 with a paper from John Hopkins and the National Institute of Health saying that you will live 3 more months and that's it, there is no chance you're going to live with the statistics that we have. And I was on my knees in front of Francisco, said, please save me, I'm dying. Francisco put his hands on my shoulder and helped me, my shoulders, and helped me stand up on my feet. Literally and metaphorically. And he said, I can't save you, I can't heal you, but I can train you to become a shaman and you could heal yourself.
Perfect answer.
So it is the perfect answer because it's exactly this is like, I can't tell you, Addie, how it feels to be coming back to Greece after 20 years of being in the States, in Peru, living in Costa Rica, and mainly in the States, teaching out of Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health for over 15 years. But returning here and returning to the center of Hippocrates and in front of the temple, it all starts, Hippocrates created or initiated Western medicine, right?
Mm,
We say he's the father of Western medicine. Yet he was way before petroleum, way before the Rockefellers, way before the Dark Ages, and way before everything had been muddled and come to what it's come, and way before insurance companies and all this medical system that is entangled in other things that are not medical, that have nothing to do with the well-being. But
that's
again, I
fascinating.
feel, go
I
ahead.
didn't know that. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm actually kind of interested in that. So what would you say about the medical system before all those things existed? Because at this point, I won't touch it if I can help it. Was it actually beneficial at that time, or, how was
You
it
won't
different?
touch it.
Yeah.
You won't touch it if you can help it. And it's impossible for many to afford to touch it if they need it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, this didn't exist. But I say this again because my statements, I want to make it clear, my statements are not political. They have to do with the individual and how we think and how we act. So I'm going to go directly there and just describe the experience of meeting a doctor now in the United States and in parts of Europe, and what Hippocrates said, and we do have Hippocratic. In some ways, we do have Hippocratic medicine returning, and that would be in functional medicine. The main idea of what Hippocrates said, there's two main ideas that are very, very important and are a big part of our school, which is, yes, shamanic, based on Peruvian shamanism, but also is a holistic way of looking at things. So it includes a little bit of the history and understanding. So what Hippocrates said is that it is more important to me to know the human being that may have a disease rather than know a disease that may have a human being.
Got it.
We work with an individual. Um, the the language is a really interesting thing, but what Hippocrates said is that it's really, really important to inspirit the individual that he meets, to get to know them and understand them, to get to see what they're motivated, what motivates them, what makes them want to live. And that's one thing that we don't understand, that my own, as a patient, if I am a patient, my own interpretation of what's happening, or my own mood has everything to do with it. So in other words, if what's happened now, and I have to say this, going back to Hippocrates, is that the second thing that Hippocrates said is, go 2,500 years ago, when people would get sick, they would say, oh, the gods are punishing me. And Hippocrates said, no, no, no. You ate rotten meat and you have terrible poisoning. You did something that was like totally had zero hygiene in it. You've brought this to your own self. So he brings it to attention, and that's the big turn of what Hippocrates did, because he created science. Because before it was belief system. People believed in the gods. And so if I'm happy, the gods love me. If I'm unhappy, it's because the gods are punishing me. But Hippocrates said, no, 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 no. Here we are. It is on your hands and not on the hands of the gods. But we like to follow. People like to follow. People like to have a mom and a dad above them. It doesn't matter how old they are. Right? And we say, oh, Father in heavens, or this. We continuously give it out. Give the responsibility out. What's happened is we took the responsibility that we gave to the gods, which is not the thing to do. It's clear for us right now, looking back at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what did we do? We put the responsibility in the hands of the doctors.
Yeah.
And we claim, every time we're sick, we claim that we don't know anything, that the doctor will tell us what to do. And there I was doing the same thing. I was saying, please, John Hopkins, do this. And then, like, is there something I can do? And they said, yes, you should take care of your affairs. This is what came from John Hopkins to me. And it's a good advice. I started on the spot, and I haven't stopped since. Every day I take care of my affairs. But with the help of Francisco, I turned the camera to me. So I'm taking care of my affairs. I'm taking care of my health. It is impossible, and almost at this point in 25 years, and being cancer-free from where I was supposed to have died back in 2004 or 2005 or 2006. It is impossible to me, and with seeing and everything in social media, etc., it's like there's so much clarity into what is bad to eat and what is not bad to eat, what is bad to drink and what is not bad to drink. There's just so much available information to us of how we could take care of ourselves and our bodies. That it's just still mind-boggling to me that people continue to be bombed with a mainstream advertisement, which basically gives us things to eat that are not edible. They're simply not edible. It's like these things are not supposed to be consumed.
Especially over here.
Especially. I'll say this, that McDonald's tried to open in Greece, and they opened for a year. They shut down. No one stepped in. No one stepped in. Everyone stepped in once, and they're like, "What the hell is this? What is this?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it back and say, well, so what do I say to my students when students enter? First of all, I'm going to say that the Jaguar Path is a 9-month training.
Okay.
We start every November. We go from November to June. We do the academic year. And what I say to my students is, come with everything that you have. If you have problems, come, join us. You will find ways to find your solutions.
Right.
I will not solve your problems, but as I was taught from Francisco, I can teach you how to get out of the problems and how to basically, in this 9 months, we have 3 trimesters. In the first 3 months, we basically follow the Inca shamanic trilogy, which is serpent, jaguar, and condor. Imagine this beautiful totem. And the serpent, although it's become scary to our society, it's just another animal. The serpent represents what is obvious. It represents of being grounded, and it represents the body, the stuff we're made of. So for the first 3 months, those 3 weekends, we go through 2 weekends every session. So 6 tools that we learn how to heal trauma and remove it from the body. And then we go into the middle trimester where we focus on Jaguar, and Jaguar is the mind, where we learn how to begin to think with no fear. And I've noticed that many times I say it's like think with no fear and act with no fear. And then a lot of people will just kind of take a step back a few inches to or a few feet or just run away. It's just one of the most important things we teach in the Jaguar path, in the Jaguar trimester, is to understand the differentiation between actual danger and fear.
Yeah.
If you're fearful, what happens is that, first of all, you lose your critical thinking. And that's when you could do things that are actually dangerous. If you're fearful, you're not protecting. We think, like, if I'm afraid, I'm protecting myself. And it's just by far not true. It's not true on the mechanisms of the body, on how we actually function. If I'm in full, my electricity is in front of my heart and my prefrontal cortex, and I'm looking at things. If there's a cliff, it's really clear to me that I should not go there. Living without fear does not mean beginning to live dangerously. Quite the opposite. Let me just say that to keep that short. Living without fear means that if I want to attempt to go on a trip because I believe I want to go to Chile, or I want to go to Europe, or I want to go to Africa, or I want to go to Alaska, whatever it is I do, I'm not going to hold myself back because I'm afraid. I'm going to lean into it and say, why is my heart pulled to go to Alaska? Is there a calling for me? And you will do it. Schedule it, put in the schedule, make it happen so your soul's desires and soul's quest is met. The third trimester is Condor, and Condor rises, flies high above, and it's our spirit. It symbolizes spirit. The systems that these people, these men and women have made are fantastic because they're highly symbolic. They're psychotherapeutic tools. Carl Jung himself has taken several of their tools because he is, as we all know, and I think Jungian therapy is top way of therapy, and in many ways really solves and allows. And let me speak correctly here. See, what we teach is that problems are not solved because many of us, we have a trauma, something that happened in our childhood or something that happened when we're teenagers or whatever it is. And we go around and we repeat this story. And one of the things that is very clear for us from the shamanic point of view is that if you repeat a story, the only thing that you do is dig it deeper into yourself as a belief about yourself, that this is who I am, that one trauma, that 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, whatever it was, this is what defines me more than anything. So I push it deeper into my whole being, and that is, to speak clearly, I'm imprinting it in my endocrine system.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm also making myself known as that person, as that traumatized person, that trauma. If I'm saying it over and over again, I'm spreading the word. I'm telling everyone that this is who I am, that I stopped there, that I was just fine in my life, but when I was 7, this happened. So now that I'm 57, it's still happening.
Right.
And that goes back to Hippocrates also. It's just like, I am not that I feel is a problem, or what it creates a dis-ease inside me. I am a soul, and I'm an individual that I can actually stand up and help heal myself. And so what we do is the opposite in our school. We begin to take the problems out, and we take them out. We'll either do a burning fire ceremony. We'll either do a letting go down a river ceremony. We're archetypal actions that stay in our subconscious with clarity because they're done in a ceremonial way. So we have witnesses, we have other people that are there that watch us let go of something. And I'm going to repeat this because this could be a healing moment for anyone that's listening. Problems are not solved. Problems are let go of. We outgrow the problems. Because one of the things that we see, especially in what we call psychology here, and people having psychological issues, is that holding on to an event, and I'm going to say, first of all here, to be very, very clear, my heart goes out to every person that's been hurt. And every emotion that you have around it is justified. And if you're hurt and if you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling angry, or if you're feeling, all these emotions are justified and they're there for a good reason. They're good for a good reason. To remind you not to go through that again, to remind you to stand up to someone that might be putting you in a similar situation. And all those things are really, really great to have. Yet, if I have that anger for that one thing, and then I move around in the world and I have a family and I have my wife and then I have my elderly parents and then I have a son and a daughter, to carry that anger around me and seep it as poisoning through all these relationships is not fair to any single person in my family, and is not fair to me, because now I've allowed that perpetrator that hurt me once to be hurting me every day. It takes us a second. It takes us 9 months. We go from number one session to how can I help you? What is it that you want to overcome? What is it that we're looking with? And we begin slowly peeling things off. All the way to the 9th session, we have very seriously and deep shamanic tools, deep psychotherapeutic tools that shift people's life. And that is something very easy to look into, lean into testimonials of all the people that have gone through the training. It is a revolution, because that's what it takes. It takes a revolution to outgrow what was holding you back. Because we decide at some point that because we were hurt, we're 7 or 8 or 10 or 16, and again, not doubting what happened and not for a second disputing the emotions that people have around them. They're valid emotions, they're important emotions, and it's just the thing to understand. It's like, so how long do you want to be a prisoner of that? It's given to you. I'm sorry it was. I've gone through trauma. There were things that led me to cancer, both psychologically and from what I was eating, drinking, and smoking in my life back then, 30 years ago. I need to let go of things, and that is the most difficult and most scary thing to do. Even our trauma, because we've become so identified with it, it's become a part of us. And the idea is to come to understand that, you know what, it's a part of an event that happened that perhaps is what can be your springboard for your evolution. What forces you out from a comfortable life of just being complicit and going along with a story of a middle class, whatever, life, to say, wait a minute, maybe I can be more than that. Because when you heal, many people say, oh, if I heal, then I'll be great. I'll be like I was before. And that's not the healing we're talking about. The healing in the shamanic view and the Jaguar path in our school means that you heal, means that you become tenfold in a better place than you were before. You do drastic, we call them Jaguar leaps or quantum leaps of evolving from who you were. And then you look back at it. And I look back at Ray of 25 years ago. It was a totally different life. And I love that Ray for everything that he didn't know. I don't regret I didn't know shamanic work. I didn't regret I didn't know deep psychology. I didn't regret that I hadn't taken the Jaguar path or a school. I don't. I love myself as I was back then. And my heart goes out to that Ray. I sometimes remember and I just go and give that Ray a hug. And like, oh man, it's okay. You know, it's like being given 3 months of life with a 2-year-old son and being between the beginning of life and the end of life. Absolutely torn, absolutely torn. So what the shamans really gave me, and here a big parenthesis, I'm sure I mentioned it in the previous time we were together, I always do, it's like, I did do one surgery at National Institute of Health in 2005, January of 2005, and took out my right kidney, which seemed to be the first of tumors that had then spread throughout my body. But we took out the source, let's say. And it is really clear to me that if I hadn't done that, I would not be alive today.
Okay.
And I want to make this really clear because this is, I don't want to call it the problem, but this is the reality we live in. People say, I meet so many people, especially working out of Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health for 15 years. I was steeped in spirituality with spiritual teachers, spiritual people. And I've watched and noticed this trend that it's either there's almost like two different, what do you call it? Two different sides. One is like the spiritual people, and then on the other side is the materialistic people. And all that, on either side that you feel you stand, that you look at people that are spiritual and you say, well, these are new age woo people, they're hippies. You're wrong. You're really not seeing much. And then on the other side, looking at materialists and say, oh, you only want cars and expensive stuff. You're wrong. It's like all that, whatever ideologies we have, are man-made, woman-made, human-made ideas that are based on that paradigm of separation. If I'm not that, then I'm this. The idea of becoming whole as a human being and finding your actual health and becoming wholesome means that you embody everything. That's the wholesomeness of it. Great Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutra, says both the spiritual and the material are for the soul. And I've been very poor in my life, and I've been very rich in my life, and very much in the middle now. But when I was poor, I know and I remember I was not spiritual. I was not more spiritual. It has nothing to do. And in that kind of like division also lies the fact that I've met a lot of people that are in spiritual paths. They say, you know what we're looking at, what you're dealing with could necessitate surgery and some Western medicine, and we should look into it. And I've seen people say, no, I will only do Eastern medicine. And I'm like, in my opinion, it won't be enough. And I've watched people decide to perish, decide to leave, to die, because they didn't want to take the gifts of Western medicine. And on the other side, even more so, I've watched people say, listen, it's good, okay, well, you could do the chemotherapy, but why don't you, before start the chemotherapy, since they said it's in a month from now you're beginning, why don't we do this for 30 days? Go to Peru, do some plant medicine, do these healing techniques here in the States or wherever, and then see how you are. Do again some exams, and then say, and they would say, no, I'm doing nothing. I'm only going to do the chemotherapy. And I've watched people perish and die. We are beings of a soul and spirit. And if our spirit isn't ignited, our immune system is not ignited. If our spirit is ignited, our immune system is ignited, our curiosity, our willingness to fight, to heal, to survive, all is uplifted. I am not the only miracle of healing. I'm not the only person that said, but unfortunately I'm from the very few, because people just decide to part with one way of looking at things or just the other. And what I suggest and what I feel is a wholesome way of living is by opening your heart and opening your mind to everything that exists around you, and using that as information, as ways to heal, as ways to better yourself, as ways to better your everyday life, using anything that is material and anything that is spiritual to really enrich your life and find your personal power. And what happens, in what I've come to realize running the Jaguar path now for 17 years, plus 17, is that a lot more happens than just learning the tools. The people we attract at our school could be doctors, therapists, body workers of all kinds, physiotherapists, yoga teachers, and a lot of people that are just interested to either they're working with something that they need to heal, or that are just simply very interested in knowing more. And it's just wonderful, because there's groups of us that get together every year, and starting again in November. And we have 50, 60 people in the group, and it's just amazing for all of us. I include myself in the group. I'm a part of this community when it starts every November, right? The new students that come in. And a lot of students come over to the Jaguar path for 1, 2, and 3, and even 7 years. Repeat the training. Because what I then noticed is that there's a continuous evolution to the training as I'm evolving. And the beauty of this community is that we all are in this circle, or in our boxes in Zoom, in a square, okay? But we're together, And we all watch and witness one another over the course of 9 months do tremendous evolution. And even from the doctor that came that was up here already and was doing amazing work, and it just went, she went up there. And from the person that came in and was at the bottom of the totem pole of the people that came that had just coming out of a sloppy divorce and was dealing with cancer, and the parents were not well, and just watch those people just go and come straight up out and above all that and become like from where they were in the bottom and the what do you call it, the victims of a situation, they become the superhero. They save the day. They save themselves. They change things in the family. They do drastic things. Even when death in the family is there, and I've lost beloved people of mine, there's ways that we offer. We offer mourning and we offer our respect to the ones we lose. We have ways to really work with that. So it's not held in sadness and aloneness and being heartbroken and keep that in our lungs and keep that in our life as a shadow, but rather it turns and it gives us more life and more reason to be a positive member of the community and to be a human being that is a light for others around us.
It, sorry. It sounds like an incredible community. I love your theory around I can hear intertwined in what you're saying that you recognize that you cannot get rid of energy, you can only transition it. I think that's a big thing that I'm hearing. And I like the balance that I'm hearing as well, because although I don't care for Western medicine too much, I do understand that there's value in everything, and resisting is not necessarily the way. So I'm sorry to interrupt. We're running a
Not at
little
all,
short.
please.
And I want to make sure that I get all your information in this video, because there's a reason I asked you to come on here, and it had to do with I watched a video of you and your wife, and it was what I felt. I felt the energy. Whatever you guys are doing transitions through film or through, you are it's pretty dense over here energetically, but you are definitely affecting the world with the energy you guys are kind of embodying and engulfed in. I could feel there's something to what you're doing. So thank you for what you're doing. Do you have any last thoughts about your or things to say about your program?
I do. First of all, I'm going to say Addie will be very happy to see you be a part of it.
Beautiful.
First of coming in, and that could be another conversation in the next few days or when you have time. And I'm going to say thank you for seeing that, Addie, for seeing it, and that's one of the things that we teach: seeing energy and how it works. It became very clear to me, and it is very clear to me that we have an expansive capability of understanding what is around us that we don't use as human beings. We're taught about six senses, and we all know it as a fact we have six senses. And it's not true. We have like nine senses, and the three senses that are not some kind of metaphysical or some kind of new age idea. They're senses that we all have, and we're not paying attention to, or we're not taught. I'll refer to, first of all, not to make it a long story or the teaching, but I'll say that when we get into the training, we begin to look into all these. What is my proprioception? Proprioception is a sense. Proprioception is the sense of me in the space around me. When I do this, where are my arms? Now, I see many people do this and they hit a lamp, or they'll do this and they'll hit a wall, because the proprioception is limited. We cultivate proprioception. We cultivate a really clear understanding of when I'm sitting here, what's behind me, what's in my sides. I cultivate that understanding. Intuition is not an imagination. Right. Although it's in the same department of the brain, it's a part of the prefrontal cortex. It is part of our pituitary gland, and in most cases, the pituitary glands are malnourished, not fed, and basically shut down. So so then when I'm like imagining something that I want to go somewhere, I want to do something, I'm not accessing my intuition. People say, "Oh, I regret doing this." I did think about maybe not doing it, and I talked about fear earlier. Fear prevents you from using your intuition because, and this is a big part of what we teach, and especially in the first trimester, understanding the body and how it works. When I'm afraid, I'll say it's this: we're electrical beings. We're electrical chemical beings. We're electrical and chemical. We have electricity that runs in our body, and we have chemistry that runs in our body, what we call hormones. And electricity moves throughout the body in different voltages and makes us secrete different amounts of hormones. Now, the hormones are running in our blood flow, create the sense of reality around us. So if I do see a lion, now I'm full of adrenaline and cortisol in my body. It's the reality. I'm terrified inside me because I've seen a lion. And that mechanism is going to protect me, and it's going to give me the fight or flight stimulus to get all the blood leaving from my internal organs in my brain to go to my extremities so I can run as fast as possible to outrun the lion or to fight the lion. And all the electricity of the body goes again to the back. First of all, the electricity goes to the back, goes to the amygdala and the adrenals. And then all the blood full of cortisol goes to the extremities. So now I can't think. I cannot think. I cannot access my prefrontal cortex. I cannot access my intuition. And so that's one of the games that is at play for centuries now. It's just like, and that's why it's so important to go have no fear. Again, so this is one of the most important things that we do. And if you see that, and one of the things that you see that we're doing right is we're not motivated by fear. We know that, we know very clearly, and we live an adventurous life. We sail, we climb, we're in different places. We surf, we do different adventurous activities, and know very well where the line of danger is, and we stay way far from that line. Now, this idea, again, of having no fear doesn't really affect you in what you can do if you want to go out sailing or surfing and having fun. It's more important in how you live your everyday life. And I think it's one of the most important things that comes out of that we hear from our students. It's like, my life has changed drastically. My life has changed 180 degrees because it is, again, that trauma or that hurt or whatever it is your ally that brought you to the school, is your ally that said, you stop doing what you're doing, what are you going to do? The shamans that we work with and that I've learned these tools from call themselves the wounded healers.